It's Thursday night. You know what that means. Another brand new episode of the Kicking Out Podcast. I'm Tanner Lee, along with my co-host Paul Zartman. We might be in different locations recording tonight than our usual spots, but we're here. We're ready to talk AEW. We're ready to talk BTE. We're ready to talk Dynamite. A little bit of everything. Paul, how you doing tonight?
I'm okay. It's cold again. I thought we were going to stay warm, but it got cold again.
Yeah. And I mowed tonight with and kind of a little chilly. Wore some extra layers, but we got it done. So it couldn't wait another day. I couldn't wait another day. Let's put it that way. So
yeah.
But before we went on the air, you wanted to kind of address something to everybody: why we follow and cover All Elite Wrestling compared to maybe another company.
Yes, I did. As we saw last week, several names were released from WWE once again this year. And Mickie James posted on Twitter today that she received her care package from the WWE, which was 2 big black Glad trash bags with a piece of green tape on it with her name written on it.
I wish I could say I was surprised at this point, but
yeah,
we've heard the stories over the years. It's going to be interesting to see. We touched on it last week of all the released talents from the WWE, where we think they could end up, or if they might come to AEW. Come July 14th will be the date we start seeing people pop up throughout different promotions. And speaking of July, real quick before we dive into being the Elite, JR kind of, I don't want to say he spilled the beans, but he first time I've heard of a date or a month date, I guess. He said on the latest Grilling JR podcast that it looks like, from what he's been told, they're going to try to hit the road, AEW speaking, hit the road again in early July.
I'm excited for that. You sent me the information and I text back, yes, I'm ready to go to another show. And I know many fans are.
Yes. Hopefully everything stays, doesn't get worse and there's no setbacks and they don't have to push it back. Hopefully they can do this safely. I did see MLW, a Major League Wrestling, who just got a TV contract with Vice TV, which is a pretty big deal for them. Good for Court Bauer and good for pro wrestling, really. They're going to go on the road in July, I think July 10th in Philadelphia.
Okay.
So it seems like July is kind of the target date for a lot of companies. I know WWE's hoping to do SummerSlam in front of fans. That's in August. I read today they're thinking about Texas or Phoenix, Arizona, possibly outdoors at a big stadium. So we will see. It'll be interesting to see if, the companies that are going on the road starting July, if they try to hit outdoor venues for a little while before going indoors, or if they just go straight indoors with like half or 3/4 capacity instead of 100. I don't know. It's kind of with everything. We don't know what it's going to look like in July.
Right. We'll find out. I think it's great because if some of these stars that were released last week, their 90-day no compete is up mid-July. If everybody's traveling again, they get to get back on the road in a new company, maybe.
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll see. Well, that's something we'll keep tabs on. We do know Double or Nothing next month on May 30th. We're almost only a month away. Is going to be at Daly's Place, but hopefully that's the last big pay-per-view that's at Daly's Place, at least for a while. I mean, it'd be cool if they went back there in the future with a full crowd. That'd be cool. But.
Yes.
Okay. Well, let's get right into being the Elite, shall we? This week was episode 252, The Forbidden Dior. Jordan Dior's, man. They're even if everybody, all the Elite Wrestling fans or BT fans weren't aware of Jordan Dior's, well, they have been educated about them in the last month or so by the Young Bucks and Scorpio Sky.
Yeah, I had no clue what they were, so I was nice to learn something new.
Yeah, and BT this week kicks off with the Young Bucks showing off their ring gear from last week's Dynamite. Both of them are saying they feel like $25,000 between the two of them, between their shoes and their ring gear. Matt says he does feel a bit bad about ruining his Dior sneakers, though, by wearing them in the match. But he said he's got a low pair at home that he can wear.
At least he still got a pair. I mean, I'm not going to have these things anytime, I think, in the near future with the cost of them. But
I don't think you, me, or a lot of our viewers and listeners are going to. They are stupid expensive on the market.
Yeah.
That's why a lot of people were ticked off with the Young Bucks wearing them and posing them and creasing them and
Yep.
all that stuff. So all the sneakerheads. Hey, it's ultimate heel move.
That's exactly what it was.
We then see clips from last week's Dynamite, the match between the Young Bucks and the Death Triangle of Pac and Rey Fenix. We then see from last week's show, we see Alex Marvez asking Hangman Page about the Young Bucks, but Page instead talks about John Silver and heads off. Dark Order is apparently still waiting for the food for the Southwest egg rolls. Colt Cabana texts Hangman Page to bring the spring rolls. The group bathers for a bit and finally realizes Page might not be coming back. Colt Cabana then decides to order up 50 pounds of meat for the group, and then they celebrate with a meat chant.
Yep. And my favorite part was Colt saying, "Don't worry, Daddy's got you."
Yeah. Then we see Brandon Cutler going in to check on Chris Statlander at a photo shoot. She chokes him Darth Vader style using the Force. He wakes up and sees the best friends in Orange Cassidy standing over him. The group is finally ready to kill him. That's something they've previously failed to do. And it was portrayed over many, many episodes of being the Elite. He throws out the idea of doing a mailbag, and the group seems to be cool with that. First BT mailbag we've got in quite some time.
Absolutely. It was nice. I enjoyed it. I miss the mailbag.
Yeah, I had honestly kind of forgot all about it.
Me too, until they said it. And I was like, the moment that, the whole BTE mailbag, I was like, oh, I missed this.
Yep. Then the best friends, Orange Cassidy and Chris Statlander, all do the BT mailbag. First question is why best friends haven't been on BTE. Trent says, hey, look around. Why he it cracks up Chuck Taylor. Chuck starts up with the next question. Then Trent says they weren't around because he's been hurt. Trent noted he wanted to have a big return, so he didn't want to be seen every week on BTE. They answer questions about what country they'd like to wrestle in, and if they like unfrosted or frosted Pop-Tarts. What say you, Paul? Frosted or unfrosted Pop-Tarts?
Frosted.
Absolutely. I'm not a fan of the unfrosted. What's your favorite flavor of Pop-Tart?
Torn between fudge and strawberry.
Those are both good. I like cookies and cream. Also like brown sugar. I like a lot of Pop-Tarts. It's kind of my go-to in the morning. But if I eat too many of the same kind for a while, I get tired and I have to switch kinds.
Yep, absolutely. Can't have the same thing too many times in a row.
But s'mores is another good one. Anything chocolatey I like when it comes to Pop-Tarts. But strawberry's a solid pick as well. So we then see Ryzen still dealing with the effects of taking too many blue chews. He runs through the hallway trying to figure out what to do next, and he gets reactions from JD Drake and Tay Conte, among others. So pretty funny.
Yeah, it was a nice little segment. Nice way to incorporate the Good Brothers segment without having the Good Brothers do that segment.
And it was just funny seeing a heel like him who plays a demonic character apologizing to everybody and trying to be so nice when he's running through the hallway.
It's not what it looks like. Well, I mean, it is, but it's not.
Yeah. We then see the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega doing a meet and greet at the live event. They say it's the first one they've done in a long time. Omega jokes about how it's funny they're doing a meet and greet now, that they don't care about the fans because they're bad guys. Clips are shown of their match from the non-televised event, and they lost that match, by the way.
Yes, they did. It was weird. I saw something where they were credited as winning that match, and I was like, no, they didn't. Nakazawa took the pin.
Yeah, which out of all the guys on that team, he's the one that should have taken it. So Then we see backstage, we see the Young Bucks checking out their ring gear. Color walks in the room and says they've been avoiding him all week. Color says they look completely different than last week, but Matt and Nick disagree. Color asked him if they saw his dark match against Penta, and they said they didn't. And he said he got all bloodied up from the attack by the Death Triangle. He says he has a broken nose and his orbital has been blown out. Young Bucks don't care. Cutler's out 4 to 6 months, according to the doctor. Matt says Cutler's contract expiring soon unless they decide to roll it over. Cutler says him being out for so long, he's going to have to do a bunch of odd jobs for them. They list off a bunch of stuff, but Cutler responds he already does most of that. They said, we're going to find more odd jobs. The Young Bucks said that, of course. Cutler doesn't seem to appreciate how the Young Bucks are treating him, but they remind Cutler he's the one who said Don Callis was right about them not being the same these days. And they make fun of him some more as BT comes to a close.
Yeah. Not sure with the whole Justin Timberlake being brought into that didn't seem to fit too well. But overall, it was a really good segment for them to be heels and poke fun at Cutler, which they all do because they're good friends. It was nice.
The interesting thing to me about this whole heel turn of the Bucks is it was, teased for weeks. They were in between, they're kind of tweeners. And even when they attacked Moxley, they looked like they felt remorseful. And then last week, all of a sudden, they're just full blown heels. It was kind of like, I kind of wish if they could go back with the Moxley attack, if they would have done it without any remorse. Just kind of like this was the plan all along. But
I think last week's BTE plays into that, where we see Kenny talking to him and then they cut off the little frilly tassels off of their ring gear. I think that was the full transition for getting the remorse and just becoming who they need to be.
Yeah, I think one thing AEW is getting better at is they still realize that a lot of the fans don't watch both Being the Elite and Dynamite.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a good chunk that do, the diehards like yourself and myself, but there is a bunch that just watch on TNT every Wednesday as well.
Yep.
So, yeah. But overall, you like this episode of Being the Elite?
Yeah, I like the new ending a lot. They even took the fact that they're heels into the ending of Being the Elite, which was interesting. We've for months and probably about a year now, the end of Being the Elite, Nick doesn't sing, and then all of a sudden he's like, oh yeah, well, we're heels now, I might as well do it.
Yeah.
So it was nice.
Yeah, it was I almost once it gets to the end there, I almost click away every time just because it's the same thing over and over again. And this week I just happened to stay on it. I'm like, oh, it's different. So
yeah.
And they even somebody found a lady on Twitter that makes those for them. So pretty neat. Mm-hmm. Pretty cool skill to have.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, so let's get into last night's AEW Dynamite. Cracked over 1 million viewers again in the ratings, down a little bit from last week, but still a very solid number. I don't know what went into that last night. It's hard telling, but still cracking 1 million is always good. So they're unopposed, of course, and NXT's unopposed on Tuesdays. Their ratings are going up. I don't think that's a coincidence.
No, I think it's been good for both brands, honestly. I never wish harm to either company, and I'm glad that they're getting the views that they deserve.
Yep, it's good for professional wrestling overall. So, night kicked off with Ricky Starks, who was accompanied to the ring by Hook against Hangman Adam Page. Adam Page is currently ranked number 1 in the rankings in AEW, and then Ricky Starks had quite of a win streak going himself. Taz is out there on commentary like he is always when a match features a member of Team Taz. Kind of scary spot midway through this match where Hangman was looking for a released German suplex, and Ricky Starks somehow landed and try to visualize this, folks, on his neck and on his feet.
Yeah.
But he looked like he avoided injury, even though he was kind of favoring one leg over the other. Supposedly all the media outlets I've read today said he's okay. So
yeah,
that was a scary looking bump, though. That was,
it was. I had to go back and rewatch the match because, again, I don't know what it is with Hangman Adam Page's matches. I always seem to need to go to the bathroom when they start. And I love Hangman, so I don't know why this is.
Because he likes drinking, and so it just flows right through you.
Yeah. I missed part of it. And I told you it was the first week that this happened that he didn't end the match while I was in the bathroom. So I was appreciative for that. But Ricky hit, and I'm surprised they didn't throw up the X there at one point.
Yeah, it just looked really bad. Glad he's okay, because that could have been
absolutely
pretty scary. Good opening match for the show. Two guys who are going to be two of the future stars in AEW for many years to come, at least in my opinion. Towards the end of the match, we had a couple counters. Adam Page tries to go for the dead eye, but he doesn't hit it. He is able to flip Starks into a submission, though, and he's choking Starks and picking at his bad ankle at the same time, and Starks taps out. So I think, at least in my recollection, that's the first time Hangman's made somebody tap out.
Yeah. I think as far as I can remember, it is. Without going back and watching every single one of his matches, to my knowledge, first submission, which was nice to see, and I wouldn't mind seeing him do more submission endings in the future.
No, absolutely. Post match, we see Taz get on the mic and he tells Hangman that he just got lucky and he needs to watch his back, and literally watch his back. He says Hook comes from behind with a chop block and a bunch of kicks. Starks tries to help. Page boots Hook away, and then Brian Cage heads into the ring, goes to hit the a power bomb, I assume, but the Dark Order comes in and chases out the group. What'd you take away from this? Brian Cage, for weeks looked like he was gonna maybe split, and then last night he looked to be back on the same page as Team Taz.
I think he's still a little torn, honestly. The way he came out was a little bit different. He didn't come out like the rest of them do when they're going to attack somebody. If Cage was in a match, they'd all come running out as soon as he needed help, but Cage just kind of sauntered out there and got into the ring. And at first I wasn't 100% convinced he wasn't going to hit Ricky, but he went after Hangman, and I still think he's torn.
I got some more thoughts on Team Taz I'll discuss later when we talk about Powerhouse Hobbs versus Christian Cage. We then see the Elite showing up in their own private trailer, and Brandon Cutler's filming them as they go in. So they got their own personal cameraman now.
Yep. And I always notice the little details. I don't know if you you didn't catch Hangman's little thing above his name plate, but we won't get into that one. But the mask that Cutler wore for his injury reminded me a lot of the mask Cody wore in WWE when he had his facial injury. Yeah,
it's a standard ugly looking mask that you wear for a broken nose, pretty much. They're not very cool looking.
I know, but I mean, it was for him to be on BTE without it and then on Dynamite with it.
I think it's something he's going to be wearing for the next couple months, or at least till he gets the surgery. Because I think it's not a working injury. I mean, I think he literally broke his nose and his orbital bone. So,
okay.
I believe, I could be wrong, but he got pretty busted up. We'll see. I don't know.
Yeah, I wonder if they'll turn it into what Cody did when he had to wear his in WWE, make it his whole, gimmick.
They might. I can't see Cutler being a heel though.
No, maybe put a twist on it and make it as a face ordeal.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see how long he stays as their personal cameraman too. So, we then see backstage. We see Penta sending a message to the best friends. Alex Abrahantes translates the message and says the best friends should have never restarted their issues with the Death Triangle.
Yeah.
We then see Penta El Zero Miedo versus Trent. As Justin Roberts announced him, I thought that was a nice little. I kind of popped for that last night.
Yeah.
And Paul, why don't you explain to everybody that hasn't listened to the AEW Unrestricted podcast why Trent has the question mark after his name? Because that's something he hasn't always had.
You're making me think back to the Unrestricted podcast.
I haven't listened to it, so you told me last night that he explained. So now I'm putting you on the spot.
Explain, but I gotta recall it now. Basically, it started out. I think he wrote his name on something and put a question mark behind it, just to be silly or something like that, and it just sort of stuck. But people were taking his stuff, so he started writing his name on it, and then the question mark came in somewhere. So if you haven't listened to the Unrestricted podcast with the best friends, go do so.
And listen to the one that came out today with Christian Cage.
Yes.
Pretty much the same interview he's done on multiple podcasts now since he joined AEW, but still really good. Still really good. So
any interview with Christian Cage is a good interview.
You're right. So this match was pretty good. A lot of action. Towards the end of the match, both guys are on the apron. Penta tries for a package pile driver, but doesn't get it. They trade some shots back and forth. Trent hits a pile driver on Penta, and then he hits him with a spear. Then Alex Abrahantes gets on the mic, says, Penta says, you suck, your friends suck, and you know who sucks the most? Your mama. And I laughed out loud. And then I'm like, how dare you say that about Sue? And the announcers got all heated about Sue. Then Trent runs Alex off, and he gets a chair. Then Alex rolls in the ring. Orange Cassidy rolls in the ring. Orange Cassidy's going to put his hands in his pockets, but then he eats a super kick by Penta. The referee's checking on Cassidy. Alex hits Trent with a really good mic shot. I was surprised he did it that smoothly. And then Penta hits Trent with a package pile driver for the 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, throughout this whole match, I wasn't sure who was going to win it. Trent is definitely looking more aggressive than when he went out with his injury. It's nice to see this aggressiveness from Trent. I think that's going to propel the best friends a little further, as Chuck was starting to become more aggressive as well in his singles action while Trent was out. So I think these guys actually have a shot at the titles now in the future.
Yeah, I'm liking Trent's style a lot more right now than I did pre-injury. I like Penta getting this win, though. I think the Lucha Bros are too strong and have honestly racked up more losses already in AEW than they probably should have.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Penta did deserve this win. Alex made the match great, though. I gotta.
Oh, he's getting better in his role. I mean, this is a guy who they were using just for some interviews and some pre-show stuff, and his main job, he's on QVC a lot. I don't know if you knew that or not, on the shopping network there. And but he's pretty good at this. He's gone in, 2 feet in, as they say. So he's doing a good job. Then we see Jim Ross talking earlier in the day with the Pinnacle about their upcoming Blood and Guts match against the Inner Circle. He brings up Chris Jericho's passionate promo where he talked about the group, especially MJF. MJF says he's been wearing the scarf since he was a kid on the Rosie O'Donnell show. He didn't steal it from Jericho. MJF then says that reminds him it's springtime, so that means it's silk season, and he switches up his scarves that Tully sent him. A silk scarf, and JR even touched the scarf, and I thought MJF would say something about that, but he let it go. We didn't see Wardlow finally speak. I'm like, wow, the guy can actually speak and speak pretty well. He says Jericho stumbled a bit when he brought up Wardlow because the moment he said his name, Jericho knew he messed up. MJF says Jericho gets an F about evaluating other wrestlers. He says Jericho wrestles people the fans already see, and then he says the reason why they're popular now. MJF mentions Omega, Moxley, Orange Cassidy, Hangman, I believe, a couple others. He says when Jericho was 25, he wasn't doing anything compared to himself. He said he was curtain jerking on WCW Worldwide. MJF says to leave that stooge Mike Tyson home and let's have the two sides fight each other. MJF continues that Jericho was right that MJF is a mark, but he's a mark for Jericho's spot, and he will take that on May 5th because when you're in the Pinnacle, you're always on top. I thought this was a really good promo. Man, who's the better promo, Eddie Kingston or MJF?
Oh, they've got two different styles. That's not fair.
I know.
That's not fair.
I got to roll with MJF, and I like Eddie Kingston on the mic. But, man, when MJF gets on the mic, I got to stop what I'm doing, and I know he's got to bring intensity.
Yeah, I can agree with that. He delivered a very solid promo last night. He's gotten better. His first couple ones when he came into the company under Cody, they weren't that good. His feud with Cody, he was still getting used to being on the mic, but he is great on the mic now.
Ian, I kind of wanted to hear Sean Spears and Cash Wheeler, Dax Harwood speak a little bit, but they still came off as big stars because MJF kept talking about this is my family. These are my boys. These are my top guys. So just by him saying that about them, it kind of elevated them a little bit, in my opinion.
Yeah, it does. I mean, each of these guys are stars in their own rights. Even Wardlow, nobody stopped talking about Wardlow since that steel cage match with Cody. But this group is doing great for all of them. They all are stars, and they're looking more and more like stars each and every week.
We didn't see a video package hyping up Hikaru Shida and Tay Conti's AEW Women's World Championship match. Tay Conti says she's nervous but prepared for the opportunity. Shida basically says that Conti may be champion one day, but not tonight.
Yeah, it was a good little package, tied in very well to Road to Dynamite with those two, the Road to the Women's Championship match.
Yeah, they made this feel like a really big deal.
That they did.
It felt like a big, as my dog Hawks in the background. Apologize to everybody about that. The Dark Order heads out with Conte to the stage for support, of course. Both Shida and Tay Conti bow to each other to start the match, show respect for each other. I thought that was pretty cool. Really good match, back and forth, a lot of spots, a lot of backbreakers. There was a nasty spot one time where Shida hit some sort of, I don't even know what you called on the top rope.
Some witch something or other.
Yeah, it was nasty looking. Aubrey Edwards even slid out of the ring to make sure Tay Conti was okay. There was brain busters on the floor. There was running knees. There was a lot going on. Towards the end of the match, Tay Conti hit a pump kick and went for the Tay KO. She hit it, but only got a 2 count. She'd kicked out at a near pinfall. Tay Conti goes for the DDT, but Shida blocks that and plants Conti down to the mat with a 2 count. Both wrestlers traded some big shots. Shida then hits a backbreaker and a twisting kick to the face, which they call the Quintana, and that will do it for the 1, 2, 3. Post-match, Britt Baker heads out to the stage. She looks up at the rankings, and she moves from the second spot to the first spot. I thought that was pretty cool that they showed that.
Yeah.
Shida throws up her kendo stick at Baker. Baker moves and waves to Shida heading towards the back.
It was a nice little segment. This whole match and post-match were absolutely great. It did wonders for Shida and Tay Conti. It made Britt look even more of a heel than she was. I mean, there's nothing that I can say bad about this apart from Shida won.
Well, it's definitely this solidified it last night. We're going to get Shida versus Britt at Double or Nothing for the title, which we should. And in the times now, it's time to pull the trigger. She just had a nice long run. It's time to give Britt the championship and let her go for a while.
Yep. I was sitting there thinking, and with the relationship that Ty has built with -1, the fact that he was not there last night was kind of the dead giveaway that she wasn't going to win. I didn't think about it at the time, but as I thought back on that match last night and through today, I was like, you know what? If -1 would have been there, she would have won.
Or at least it would have made everybody think that she had a better chance to win, maybe.
Right.
Yeah, it's one thing AEW, and I don't want this company to turn into, belts changing hands every week or anything, but we don't see a lot of title changes on Dynamite, but we see a lot of title defenses. So it's getting to the point almost when it does happen, it's really going to shock me. Or maybe that's what they're going for. I don't know.
Yeah.
We then see some of Miro's best work, I think, that he's done since he's been in the company. He cut a short little vignette that said it's been another week and he hasn't seen Kip. Miro says he wants some vindication. And anyone who has a championship, he's coming for them. It doesn't matter if AEW put him through a bunch of hoops. It's his destiny to become champion. And they show Kenny and both Darby. I think this is leading to Miro versus Darby at Double or Nothing.
Yep, and Miro will win. If Darby wins that match, Miro's squashed.
Unless they want to get Miro and Kip, because we're going to see that pay off too. Eventually, he's got to get his hands on Kip and rip him apart. Yeah. I'm hoping that comes on a Dynamite between now and Double or Nothing and not at Double or Nothing, but it wouldn't shock me, to be honest.
There's something that I will mention regarding Kip, but I'll wait until we talk about next week's upcoming matches before I do that.
Okay. We then see the Inner Circle heading to the ring to speak with Tony Schiavone. This was interesting. Part of me kind of wishes this would have been pre-taped and the Pinnacle would have been live, but I get why they did one live, one pre-tape, kind of keeping the groups away from each other until next week. I will say before I get into this, I enjoyed the Pinnacle segment a lot more than this one. I thought this one had some sloppiness to it, but it was live, so a little tougher to do. But Jericho says there's a lot of energy tonight because of the upcoming Blood and Guts match on May 5th. He continues that'll be one of the most brutal matches ever seen on TNT. He talks about Mike Tyson knocking out Cash Wheeler and being an honorary member of the Inner Circle. Jake Hager says the Pinnacle will be sucking out of straw as he throws some straws after they get done with them. Like, that was a weird line. I don't know. Hager's awful on the mic, in my opinion.
He always has been. He's always needed a mouthpiece.
Not his forte.
No.
Now Santana gets on the mic and says the Pinnacle wants to wrestle the best, but they wait until there's a crew behind them before they actually fight. Where we come from, we call that bitch moves. I thought he was awesome on the mic. I'm like, why don't they let him talk more? Jericho says MJF talks a lot, but never feels any convictions in the words he says. He brings up singing show tunes and says he wrote one for MJF. Jericho rattles off a few lines before giving MJF a swirly and how he's a dipshit pretty much, and says it's fun to make jokes. You could tell he was trying to make that rhyme up, and he just kind of blew it, and it was not smooth at all. It was funny, but it was like, oh man, this is not smooth. It was
good halfway through. I think he knew the first part.
Yep.
And then he's like, you know what? I need to keep this going. The fans are loving it. And it just spiraled out of control.
He says on May 5th, there'll be a lesson of violence. Jericho says next week he wants a parlay between the Inner Circle and Pinnacle. Jericho then says he will beat the living hell out of MJF on May 5th, and the Inner Circle will destroy the Pinnacle. The group then gives the camera the middle finger together as they cut away.
Yeah. I think what they're trying to do between these two is just give the leader the microphone, which is why we're seeing MJF talk and Jericho talk. But I want to see, just like you, I want to see these guys develop their mic skills. I want to see what they've got. We heard Wardlow. Wardlow can talk. I want to hear him cut a promo by himself.
And one thing I noticed today, and I heard some podcasts talking about it also was, or one thing I noticed last night and heard some podcasts talking about today was, between the two groups, when Jericho comes in with the Inner Circle, he is part of the Inner Circle. He wears black like the other guys. His car's black like the other guys when they all rolled up a few weeks ago. MJF, he wore a different color than the other guys last night.
Yep, he always does.
He stands with Tyson alone last week.
Mm-hmm.
Without the group. So he still looks like the biggest star.
Absolutely.
And it's all on purpose. And
oh yeah.
I just thought that was interesting. I hadn't thought about that until I noticed that last night.
Yeah. It kind of goes back to, in my mind, he's the Flair of the Four Horsemen.
Yes, absolutely.
Because you had all four horsemen, but Flair always stood out.
Yep.
MJF.
He's the future of the company. He's the future of professional wrestling.
Absolutely.
So, in it, I've heard more people talk about today. Dave Meltzer of the Wrestling Observer said it. Blood and Guts, that night on May 5th, it's a one-match night.
That's crazy. I mean, that's going to be 2 hours. It's going to be great.
Here's my prediction what they do. I bet the first half is pre-tape segments, interviews, vignettes, highlights, pumping up this match. Then the last hour is the match itself. That's my guess. If not, I don't know how you do it. You can't. You do a 2-hour match. I mean, we've seen hour matches before. I remember Shawn Michaels and John Cena going through an hour match over in England before. We in the War Games matches and NXT ones 4-on-4. The men's match, the latest one they did, that lasted 45 minutes. So you put 5-on-5, it's going to last an hour.
Yeah.
But, yeah. I think that will be the biggest rating AEW's done to date, though, will be on May 5th.
Yeah. Yeah. But I just hope there's something other, even if it's not matches, something, building towards Double or Nothing or, something, not just strictly leading up to that match.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how they handle it. I don't know. I think it's going to be quite the spectacle, and I don't think they would be doing it this way if NXT was still on Wednesday nights.
Absolutely. I think that's the only reason they're doing it right now.
But I think even Well, I'll make my prediction next week when we kind of preview Blood and Guts. But as far as who I think is going to win, but I do think we're going to see this won't end between the groups. I think we see a lot of the feuds carried to Double or Nothing.
Mm-hmm.
I think we'll get FTR versus Proud and Powerful. I don't know about Hager and Wardlow. We've seen that once.
Yeah. It didn't impress me back then. I don't want to see
and
it
we've
again.
already seen MJF and Jericho once, even though it was in different circumstances. So maybe Jericho and Spears and Sammy and MJF, but they really got to do something at Blood and Guts to set that up, because it would make sense for Spears and Sammy given the chair shots and the door shots. But,
absolutely. I still want to see those two go one-on-one, whether it's with this feud or something completely different. I think those two could deliver one heck of a one-on-one match.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting. I mean, we're almost a month out, Double or Nothing, and I kind of see a few matches formulating, but a lot of the card I have no idea right now.
No,
and I feel like that's different than when we've been previously a month out from the other pay-per-views.
Yeah, but also at the same time, it's a nice little bit of a refresher, because, I mean, we started building our predictions a month out from the last pay-per-view, which you won that one, but you won't have as much time to sit and think about what's going to happen.
You're right.
You're going to have 2 weeks to figure out what's going to happen.
Yeah, and then we're going to have that casino ladder match that's always unpredictable.
Yep.
So
I still think this prediction is going to come down to the ladder match again.
It might. And you were good at Revolution, but I might have to go, assuming there's a mystery entrant, I might have to go with the mystery entrant, because Brian Cage was last year. So
as long as they don't do what they've done with the last 2 ladder matches. Oh, you won 2 weeks.
Yeah, I hate that. Build it a little bit. Build it. Don't throw them right into it. Absolutely. You know they're not going to win, and it just cools them off. They're learning as they go, but I hope that's something they learn, because they've done it twice now. So we then see a backstage segment with Anthony Ogogo. He's saying he's only here in this dump, referring to America, to make that big money. QT Marshall says he's going to show Billy Gunn how much it's worth being loyal to Cody Rhodes. And, then we get the match between Billy Gunn and QT Marshall. And it should be noted, he is Billy Gunn again, not just Billy. Yeah. I don't know what happened there. Last time I knew, WWE had the rights there. I don't know if he's just doing it to do it, or if he's got it back. I had not read anything before last night that he got the name back, but
neither had I. He was Billy at the last Dark he was on, so I don't know.
I didn't realize, and I know he wrestles a lot on Dark and Elevation, but I didn't realize he had wrestled 9 times in 2021 and was 9-0 going into last night. That's quite a record for a guy in his mid-50s.
Yeah. Especially being, the first promo he cut about being in AEW was, Vince can't fire me.
Yeah. But he might be in his mid-50s, but the guy can still work, and the guy's massive. I mean, for a 6'5" guy, he looks a lot bigger than that. He's in great shape. Yeah. He throws some of the best working punches in wrestling. I love watching his punches. He lays them in. I love it.
Yeah. And his style has evolved since he's been in AEW too. I gotta give him props on that.
He's wrestled a lot more than I thought he was going to.
Oh, absolutely. I thought 9-10 matches max, he'd be done, and he'd transition into a coaching managerial position. That's not what we saw out of Billy Gunn. He still goes, and I'm sure he'll be in more matches in the near future.
Yeah, I thought he was just going to be a trainer when he came in, but okay match here. It's pretty much what I thought was going to happen. In the middle of the match, we see Billy get attacked from behind, but his sons, Austin and Colton, jump the barricade, and they jump on Comoroto and Aaron Solo to stop that. The 4 guys fight out Daly's place. QT's in the ring as Billy rolls back into the ring after being thrown into the ring post by Comoroto when the ref wasn't looking. Marshall throws some shots, but Gunn looks to be getting more annoyed. He's kind of letting him hit a shot, and he just sits there, hit a shot, and he sits there. Then QT hits a pile driver for the 2 count. Both counter each other's finishers. Marshall's goes out to the stage. Billy follows him. Gunn tosses Marshall back into the ring. The referee checks on him. Anthony Ogogo runs out and smashes Gunn in the midsection with that powerful boxing punch of his. Marshall gets over to cover Gunn, hits the diamond cutter, then covers him. That'll do it for the 1, 2, 3. Post-match, Ogogo gives Marshall a wooden chair, an old school looking wooden chair. He goes to hit Billy, but Dustin Rhodes runs out and smacks Marshall with a bull rope. Dustin throws a bunch of shots on the corner on Marshall, hits a spinning power slam. Ogogo is just standing at ringside, not helping this guy out at all. I thought that was kind of odd. Dustin gets the chair. Ogogo climbs up to the apron, then confronts him. Nick Comoroto tries to attack Dustin from behind. Dustin swings the chair over Comoroto's head, and he just stands there, did nothing to him, didn't phase him. Dustin looks kind of shocked and in fear. QT's group then makes their way to the back as referees came in and held everybody off.
Yeah, I texted you that the post match was just as good as the match, if not better.
Better than the
match. Again, because and it's nothing against Billy Gunn. It's nothing against QT Marshall. It's just it wasn't an exciting match.
It was. But you knew Billy wasn't going to win.
Oh, absolutely. You knew something was going to happen. There were 3 versus 4.
Yeah.
5.
But they're definitely making Ogogo look as the most powerful guy in this, even though QT's the leader of the group.
Yeah.
I'm thinking we're going to see this head till Double or Nothing, and we're going to get the Factory versus Nightmare Family, including Cody. I think Cody will, it's been nice having him off TV because it's going to make his return special. So I don't know if that's this week or if it'll be May 12th or what, but it's coming.
I don't know. I thought at one point they were setting up for this to be Dustin versus QT. And then Nick got in the ring and that just threw that out the window. I want to see those two go on one-on-one, even though Dustin's going to get murdered in that match.
I thought maybe we'd see, maybe we still will before Double or Nothing. Maybe it is the match they're going for at Double or Nothing. I'm not sure yet, but we're all speculating at this point. And that was Dustin versus QT in a bull rope match because he didn't bring that bull rope out just to bring it out.
Yeah, he doesn't walk around with that backstage. No. He doesn't carry it in his suitcase everywhere he goes. Because otherwise on Sammy's vlog, he probably would have hit Fuego del Sol with it at some point just to wake him up.
Correct. And they've had the bunkhouse match. He likes doing these old school matches that his dad did or created or thought of. So I could see that. I could see that happening.
Yeah, I think it'll be good.
We then backstage we see the Elite hanging out in their private trailer with Brandon Cutler filming them, of course, like we mentioned earlier. Don Callis said there's never been such a talented group together, putting over everyone in the group. Callis mentions Omega will soon be the Impact World Champion. The only mention of that on the entire show in Rebellions happened Sunday, title versus title. Rich Swann, the Impact Champion, versus Kenny Omega, the AEW Champion. I'm sorry, Paul, but this is driving me nuts.
Yeah, there was a commercial for it, which was the first time I've seen a commercial for this pay-per-view. And it was for this match. There's been no hype to this on AEW. It's all taking place on Impact.
Mm-hmm.
And I think if Impact would have done something different, worked with Tony and said, hey, we're going to have him come attack Kenny. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. I'm sure Tony would have been all for it because then that would have helped build Impact because you would have had AEW fans going to get the pay-per-view to see that match.
You got to think, what's the communication going on? Because I think it's been poor on both sides. This whole thing feels like it's just basically at this point it was an excuse for Omega to hang out with the Good Brothers and Callis. Because I got to think Omega, assuming there's not disqualification or something funky happens on Sunday, Kenny's going to win this. There's no way he loses this. They're not going to have him lose to Rich Swann because then Rich Swann's got to show up on Dynamite next week and he hasn't been on Dynamite at all. You haven't previewed it at all. It's really bugging me that they didn't mention this at all.
Now, are you going to watch it?
No, I'm not. I'm not going to pay the $50 for it. I'm not an Impact watcher. I just can't do it without the fans.
Going to follow it on Twitter?
Yeah, I'll follow on Twitter. On Twitter. Well, we'll post about it on our social media, the result. So
yep. Which I'm calling now is going to be just like you're calling. It's going to be Kenny Omega.
Yeah,
it's there's no way this is Rich Swann. If it ends up being Rich Swann, I'm not even going to challenge you for the title.
Fair enough. Let's see here. Matt Jackson says the reason business went up in Japan and the formulation of All Elite Wrestling and why a certain t-shirt is a hot seller in America, referring to the Bullet Club t-shirt. They laugh about John Moxley and Eddie Kingston, saying they heard they're coming back tonight. The group says the two should know where they are and come get them. Omega tries to get serious for a minute, but someone's honking a horn a bunch outside, and they're getting real annoyed. You knew what it was going to be. Omega's getting annoyed and tells the guys to go figure out what's going on. Moxley and Kingston are in a truck, and they just drive straight into the trailer. Then Moxley brings a pipe with him and smashes the windows in the trailer. Kingston yells, "You think this is a game?" And Moxley's going, "Young Jackson boys." Moxley and Kingston call for them, but nobody's in the trailer now all of a sudden. Kingston's wondering where the Young Bucks sneakers are at. Kingston calls them a bunch of cowards. And Moxley says, bitches AF, which I thought that was hilarious. And they walk back to the truck.
The little AF was a nice little thing. A nice little shout out to Face Bucks when they were Christian AF because they couldn't say it because they were faces.
Love this tandem of Moxley and Kingston. And we could get 2 hours of them just jabbing each other back and forth, and I'd be entertained.
Yeah. It was just pure gold.
But what's up with guys just disappearing in AEW? Shaq and now the whole Elite. I mean, here's what I wish they would have done. And you were just talking about Rich Swann, right? Show them running out of the back of the trailer or something, like right after it happens or something. Rich Swann comes out of nowhere, attacks Kenny. Boom. There you go. You get some hype for Sunday.
Yeah. I honestly, being the fact that it started when Kenny started talking, I was hoping it was Swann. Honestly.
Yeah.
I knew it was Mox and Kingston, but I was really hoping it was Swann with him somehow. He was driving or whatever. Because at first I thought we were going to get one of those cheesy 90s vehicle explosions when, and I'm like, oh, here we go again. And no, it was just a solid impact. They didn't even jump out right away. It's kind of like, they had to get their bearings together, and Moxley forgot the pipe for a second. So it was an interesting segment apart from the Elite just vanishing into thin air.
One thing I wish AEW would do more of, and maybe it's because TNT didn't like the surprise of Sting, but that was a person who at the time wasn't on the roster. I wish when they have little segments like this, when it ends up being Moxley and Kingston that drive the truck into the trailer, I wish they wouldn't pre-advertise them being on the show.
Yeah.
Because you knew they were going to show up soon, and that just made the most sense for them to show up in that segment.
Yeah, we were coming close to the, end of the show.
9:30-ish or whatever. Yeah, it's like, so that's one thing. And when they always, advertise, and I get why they advertise Sting talking to Shivani for the ratings, but I don't think they need to advertise all that ahead of time. Just have it happen on the show.
No, I think TNT told Tony no more surprises.
I can understand that if it's a talent making its debut, but if it's a talent that's already on your roster, but we don't know. We don't know what the conversations are behind.
And maybe
doors.
It's TNT's way of just trying to get more people to tune in. And when you don't have these returns or special guests coming in, those ratings aren't getting that high. Maybe we lose that stipulation. I'm hoping.
Yeah. Well, could be. But do you think we're getting Young Bucks versus Kingston and Mox for the titles at Double or Nothing?
Yeah.
I think so too. I think we'll probably get a battle royal at somewhere, and that's how they become number one contenders because they're not in the rankings. That's how AEW usually likes to do their number one contenders before a pay-per-view for the tag titles. So I can see that.
Yeah. Yep.
We then get a Powerhouse Hobbs versus Christian Cage. This match went pretty much how I thought it was going to. Taz was back in commentary, and what I mean by that is Powerhouse Hobbs pretty much dominated most of the match until he got a little too greedy and too cocky at the end, and the old vet got him.
Yeah.
So basically, towards the end of the match, Christian's able to slip under Hobbs in the corner and get a power bomb on Hobbs. He goes back to the top, hits a frog splash for a 2 count. Christian charges in, and Hobbs runs over Christian. He then hits a hip attack in the corner for a 2 count. Christian looks for a sleeper hold, but Hobbs jams him in the corner and puts him on his shoulder. Christian's able to get off Hobbs' shoulder and hits a quick kill switch for the 1, 2, 3. So, I thought this match was okay.
Yeah. It was average. I was surprised that Cage won, honestly. I told you, I said, I'm a huge Christian fan, but I'm going with Hobbs on this one, and I was wrong.
Yeah. Yep. So, but there was a little stare down after the match with Christian and Ricky Starks, if I remember that correctly. I don't have it in my notes.
Yep. Yeah, because Ricky came down to check on Hobbs and ended up locking eyes with Christian, and they just stared at each other, and Christian got out of the ring and walked to the back.
That'd be a good match.
It would. It would.
Maybe
They're more evenly sized. I think it'd work better than, him coming out on top of Hobbs.
so, Christian usually works pretty good with bigger guys in matches, it seems like. But maybe he gives one to Ricky, because I'll tell you, Team Taz for me, it's not doing it for me anymore. They lose every week.
No. Yeah. They win on Elevation and Dark, but then they come to Dynamite and lose.
Yeah, it's like, and they're always in big matches with big names. They're in good stories, but when they just keep losing loss after loss, I'm like, I'm not even taking them as a threat anymore.
Do you think at some point they blame the management of the team being Taz?
Maybe they get a different member a Samoan member come in July.
Never know.
I don't know.
Never say never.
That would be pretty cool. I'd be on board with that, but I wouldn't be surprised if he ends up in ROH, to be honest. But we'll see.
Yeah.
We did see a vignette with Jade Cargill saying every manager is looking to sign her. Matt Hardy said he'd like to sign her for a small fee. Vicky Guerrero also makes a pitch to Cargill, which was weird because she doesn't really have a stable.
No.
Jade says she doesn't need a manager, though. She's her own boss. If anybody wants to sign her, they better make her a heck of a deal. I thought that was pretty cool.
It was. It was a nice way to say Jade knows she's worth something, and she doesn't need somebody behind her to prove that.
She's the Brock Lesnar of the AEW Women's Division.
That she is. It's a nice little refresher. Somebody powerful who knows
their worth.
They want. The only thing that would make this great is if she came out and said, "I'm a Paul Heyman guy."
Paul Heyman gal.
Yeah. My bad, Jade. Don't beat me up.
Yeah. I'd pay to see that.
Oh, what? Her beat me up, or
yes.
Heyman walk out?
Her to beat you up.
It'd be 3 hits. Her hitting me hitting the ground, and the ambulance hitting 80.
Well said. I'm not going to argue with that. We then saw next week's show. It's going to be the Pinnacle and the Inner Circle Parlay. Hangman Page versus the FTW champion Brian Cage with Taz and Ricky Starks. Interesting matchup there. But once again, I don't see Team Taz getting a win. Pinta El Zero Miedo with Alex Abrahantes versus Orange Cassidy and Trent. That's going to be a tough one to predict. Chris Statlander with Orange Cassidy versus Penelope Ford with Kip Sabian. And you said you had a mention about Kip here.
If Kip truly does show up with Penelope, Miro will show up.
Oh, yeah, it's time.
Miro will attack him next week.
It's time.
Yes.
It's time to find him. Then we get the AEW World Tag Team Champions, the Young Bucks, versus Matt and Mike Sydal in a title eliminator tournament match. Or title eliminator match, they're calling it.
Yeah.
The Bucks aren't losing this. I mean, the Sydal's another team that they don't get wins on Dynamite.
No, so I mean, what? If Sydal's lose, they never get to challenge the Bucks for the title? Is this what I don't
understand when they put these kind of stipulations on it. Like Matt Sydal against Kenny a few weeks ago had this stipulation on it. I don't understand really what it means.
I don't either. At first I thought, oh, okay, we're getting a tag team title tournament again to determine a number 1 contender instead of a battle royal or something along those lines.
Yep.
And then I was like, nah, the Bucks are in it though. Why have the champs in it? So This is just one of those weird stipulations that say, the Sydals are going to lose and they don't get to challenge the Bucks again.
And we're going to get the Nightmare Family made up of Billy Gunn, Dustin Rhodes, and Lee Johnson against the Factory, QT Marshall, Nick Camarado, and Aaron Solo with Anthony Ogogo by their side. I don't see the Nightmare Family winning this one.
No. Lee Johnson has 1 win on his record.
Yeah.
Just so he wasn't the worst record in the company.
Yep.
So.
Who is the worst record anymore?
I think it's Nakazawa.
Yeah. Yeah, I knew it
Cutler still
Cutler
has enough
anymore.
wins, and Peter still has. I think Cutler and Peter are still tied for wins and losses. So
Yeah, Peter's been on the shelf for a while with an injury. So we then get to the main event of the night, and that was the TNT Championship. Once again, main event in the show. Darby Allin defending against Jungle Boy, and this match just came up late last week.
thanks to Darby's
Friday
tweet
or
on Twitter.
over the weekend, maybe. Yeah, Darby saying he wanted to challenge one of the top 5 guys, and Jungle Boy was it. Another 2 guys who are futures of the company and the professional wrestling world.
For sure.
Sting was out with Darby Allin. Luchasaurus was out with Jungle Boy. That was predictable on both sides to make it even.
Marco was up in the stands somewhere on a beanbag.
Yeah, no Marco stunt lately with Jurassic Express.
Nope,
ever since he showed off his con tattoo.
Yeah, he tweeted something about it's time for Dynamite or something, and he was in the stands on what looked like a beanbag and wearing a Jurassic Express shirt.
This was a lot of back and forth in this match, and then we saw a weird spot with Sting walking over to Luchasaurus to see what was up with Luchasaurus helping Jungle Boy get in the ring, and then they start fighting on the stage, and they slowly just chillax back to the stage. It was weird. I'm like, what the heck was that?
Yeah, it's the weirdest interaction I've seen. I don't know if Luchasaurus was trying to take it easy. You know, him and Sting may not have. Him and Sting don't have that chemistry.
It looked terrible.
Yeah.
I mean, Sting was used to wrestling dinosaurs in his time in TNA.
Yeah.
When he wrestled Flair and Hogan and Mick Foley, but
he took on a shark too at some point.
Yes,
everybody took on a shark.
Yes, he did. Yes, they did.
And
good
old
Shark
man.
Boy. But back in the ring, the 2 wrestlers, Jungle Boy and Darby Allin, are swinging away at each other. Jungle Boy hits a big lariat brainbuster and an elbow strike to the back of the head for a 2 count. Jungle Boy locks in a snare trap. Allin almost fades. I thought Jungle Boy was going to get him, but he gets to the bottom rope. Jungle Boy pulls him to the middle of the ring and locks in the surfboard. He puts him in another snare trap. But Darby ends up gouging Jungle Boy's eyes to get out of the lock. Jungle Boy hits some big slaps to the head, looks for a sunset flip, but Darby counters it with the Last Supper for the pin and the win.
Yeah, I'm really intrigued by some of Darby's move names.
Yeah.
Like the Last Supper, the coffin drop. I mean, I know why it's the coffin drop. He looks like he's in a freaking coffin.
Code Red Avalanche or Avalanche Code Red or something.
Yeah. It's just weird names.
Yep.
And they wouldn't work for anybody other than him.
He's an odd dude and it fits him perfectly. Yeah. Another good gutsy win by Darby that he pulls it out going,
Yeah.
Darby's
the only person. Oh, go ahead.
It was interesting that this had the TV time remaining and the women's match had a 60-minute time limit on it.
They even commented about that. And I think that's because this is the TNT championship.
Yeah.
They don't want it to carry over past time, anything like that.
Well, they're trying to build this on par with the world championship, and they're doing a pretty good job putting on. I like that we're getting a lot of matches because that was my complaint with Darby as champion was he barely defended it. Now he's making up for that in the weeks in the last few weeks. Then after the match, we see Ethan Page and Scorpio Sky come into the ring and attack both Darby and Jungle Boy. Then we see Lance Archer come out, which I thought he'd be on the program sometime. He came out and gets in the ring and is fighting them off. Then Sting comes out with a baseball bat, Ethan Page and Scorpio scram. And then we kind of go off the air real quick, and I just was left to try to comprehend what just happened.
You and me both.
Well, you've had almost 24 hours to think about it. What have you come up with?
I didn't come up with anything. It still doesn't make sense to me. I don't understand the Luchasaurus Sting thing. This is like 3 weeks in a row where Sting gets fought to the back and then just casually walks out at the end of the match like nothing ever happened to him.
And heck, I'm wearing a Sting shirt tonight. I'm a big Sting fan. I like the icon, vigilante, whatever you want to call him. But, everybody gets so scared of a 62-year-old man with a baseball bat.
Yeah.
It just kind of makes me laugh. I get it. I'm looking too much into his pro wrestling, but also I want to know what's this Lance Archer and Sting thing. Where is this going?
Yeah. Because this is 2 weeks in a row where Archer's come out to save Darby before Sting gets out there.
He's kind of proven his worth. Feels like this thing, but where's it going? I mean, and we've seen Ethan Page and Scorpio Sky. They showed them up in the rafters last week when, or maybe it was 2 weeks ago when Archer and Sting were having that confrontation with Jake on the stage. So something's brewing there. Are we going to get Scorpio and Ethan Page in a tag match versus Sting and Lance? That's kind of where I think we're going.
Is it Sting and Lance, or will it be Lance and Darby?
Well, if they do it at Double or Nothing, I think you got to have Darby defend the TNT title. And that's where Miro comes in.
Or do you stick with the TNT title only defended on TNT? Which is what I feel like they're trying to go to.
I don't like that with only 4 pay-per-views.
No, neither do I. Unless, you get that trios belt.
Yeah. Well, let's see. The TNT title, it's been defended on every pay-per-view, though, since it been created.
It's the only title to be defended on every pay-per-view since its creation.
The world title hadn't been?
I don't think so.
What pay-per-view wasn't it? Because Jericho won it at All Out 2019. They defended it against Cody at Full Gear. He lost it to Mox at Revolution. Mox defended against Brody Lee at Double or Nothing last year. Mox defended it against MGF at All Out. Then he defended against Eddie Kingston at Full Gear. And then Omega defended against Mox at Revolution. So
I guess he did, didn't he?
Yeah. You probably forgot about the Mox and Brody Lee at Double or Nothing because Stadium Stampede was the main event.
Yeah, that's where it was.
Yeah.
I was thinking that was a Dynamite.
Yeah. It all kind of runs together.
It does.
Everything's so good, but it'll be interesting. I've said this before on the podcast a few weeks ago. I'm a big Ethan Page fan. The more I watch his vlogs, that dude is so likable outside his heel character. So I'd be all for him in a big match against Sting and Archer. But then I don't know who gets the win because I hate seeing Archer eat losses. But Sting doesn't need another win. He's already got a big win in the company, and Scorpio and Page need wins. You can't keep killing these young guys off.
Yeah. I don't know.
Man, if that's a match right now, I'm already struggling with my confidence pick right now and who I'm going to go in. That's what's going to happen. Double or Nothing. This is going to be a tough card. I have a feeling to predict, which is great.
Our confidence points are going to be squat.
Probably.
I mean, you have to use all the numbers, but
yeah, you have to.
I'd much rather go ones on everything right now.
A good thing we have a little over a month, but
yes. And if we get Miro and Kip, then I'm that'll have all my confidence points right there for Miro.
But hopefully next week we start getting some clarity as to what directions we're heading towards Double or Nothing. So, but
yeah. See, I want to say it's going to start building next week, but then we'll officially see everything on the 12th. I think that's where this is going to go. Is we'll get through Blood and Guts, and then everything will really take off. I mean, it's got to take off. That'll leave 25 days till the pay-per-view with nothing ready. Yeah, in my opinion.
I'm excited. It's fun.
Yeah, I'm excited to see what they're doing with a lot of these little stories that are so random, like Archer and Sting. What's going on there? Why do they keep attacking Darby to draw Sting out? Yeah. Do they attack Darby because they want his title? Do they attack Darby to draw Archer out? I mean,
a lot of unanswered questions.
And last week when Archer came out, he didn't have Jake with him. Jake came out this week.
Yep. Slowly behind.
So, yeah, very slowly.
He keeps coming out of the face tunnel. So I guess he's face.
And I think that's kind of why Jake's kind of fallen back. I mean, Jake's not a face.
He's never going to be a face. Can't be.
No.
Fully.
Right. And it, kind of makes me worry with how slow he is moving. Is Jake going to kind of start fading out? And that's why Archer's doing this Sting thing. I mean, there's so many unanswered questions that I need answers to.
That's why they keep us watching every week.
Yes.
Intriguing storylines and angles.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
overall letter grade for last night.
B. There's so many whys around it. The matches were really good, but you had the Will Hobbs, Christian Cage didn't really do anything for me. There were about 3 matches I was intrigued in, and that was Hangman, the women's title, and the main event.
I'm gonna go B-.
Okay.
Yeah, the Christian match, and I like Christian, and I think Powerhouse Hobbs is gonna be a star, but it didn't do much for me either. I really enjoyed the main event. Building QT didn't do much for me. I liked the post-match stuff better. Women's Championship was good. Penta and Trent was fine. It's kind of the most intriguing one as far as predictions go. Ricky and Adam was a fine match to start off with. I was just kind of distracted by Ricky's big bump he took. Just wanted him to be okay. I thought the Pinnacle's promo was real good. The Inner Circle one I chuckled at, but I didn't think it was that great. I didn't think it was one of their stronger ones. No. So yeah, just some sloppiness here and there, but still an enjoyable show overall. But B- isn't a terrible grade, but it wasn't as good as the last few weeks had been. It was just kind of a few things just missing for some reason.
I completely agree with you on that.
And next week's card looks to be a similar show to me. I mean, at least from a card standpoint, some good matches, but nothing that's absolutely going to blow me away on paper. But they're building for May 5th to try to blow everybody away. So, and I think there'll still be some surprises next week. Maybe Cody does return. Mm-hmm. I mean, there's going to be something big happening in that 6-man. It's just not going to be, a factory win.
So. Right. No 6-man has just been a 6-man tag match.
No.
Something big happens every time.
Yep. Wrestler of the week, and I'll let you go first again this week. I know you let me go first last week, and I appreciated that, but I'll let you go first.
I'm not going off the wall this week. Okay. I'm going with Darby.
Okay.
Because he's the first person to get out of the snare trap from Jungle Boy.
Interesting. He's a fighting champion. Whoever takes the belt off him is going to have to, really put him down. And that's why I think Miro's the right person. They're starting to really build him like they should have when he first came in. And I think everybody's behind that. So, tough pick. I was thinking about going Sheeta.
I almost did.
I'm going to go Penta.
Okay.
I think he got a big win for himself. Now he's in a big match with Orange Cassidy next week. Starting to see a lot of Penta and singles action.
Yeah. Where'd the other two go?
They were off. We haven't seen them since last week. They lost to the Bucks. So.
They were on Dark though.
Yeah.
And then not on Dynamite. That was weird to me.
I like how they're using the Lucha Bros differently, not always teaming together. Because I think it was on this day 3 years ago, Pentagon, as he was known then, became the Impact World Champion. So he's been in the big scene in singles before.
Yeah. And shout out to Chuck. It's his birthday.
Chucky T. Happy birthday. I don't know how old he turned today.
I didn't look it up.
But shout out to him and shout out to Miro for buying the whole locker room.
Yes.
Pre-advanced tickets to private screening. Thank you to Mortal Kombat. That was pretty cool. Pretty cool gesture.
And on this day 2 years ago, Leva Bates signed as the librarian on BTE.
And Peter signed, was it 2 years? It would have been 2 years ago also.
Yeah, because they signed at the same time because it was a fun storyline on BTE.
Yeah. So we're getting a lot of those memories to pop up. So
it's nice to see.
A lot of good things happening around the All Elite Wrestling world. And one more tidbit I want to put out there before we go off there. I was listening to Wrestling Observer Live with Brian Alvarez today. It's always from 3 to 4 p.m. Eastern time. I listen on TuneIn Radio. You can find it on Twitch, a lot of other places. Don Callis was a guest today, and Callis is interesting when he's in an interview because he stays in character the whole time.
Oh, absolutely.
He I had a chuckle because he annoyed the crap out of me when I was listening. He said the Elite is bigger than the NWO were because he said Hall and Nash have nothing on the Young Bucks, which I do think the Young Bucks are better than Hall and Nash as a team.
Yes.
But he also said Omega is way better than Hogan, and it's not apples to oranges or anything. I'm like, Omega's a better wrestler than Hogan, but come on now, Callis, like you can't, because he's saying the Elite's the biggest dominant faction in the last 30 years, and I'm like, I don't know.
I gotta argue with that one. I mean, I love the Elite, but no.
And they asked him before he left about if we're going to see any more additions or surprises, and without giving him anything away, he pretty much said there's going to be additions to the group coming.
I figured this is the American version of the Bullet Club.
Yep.
Start out small and just expand until you're like 20 members.
I think if things are starting to open up again with international travel, I think it'd be somebody from Japan.
I got to mention, I saw this story. I don't think anything's going to come of it. This is me being a mark. I don't do this very often. There's a certain champion who at one point thought of going to WWE and decided not to, and he's done very well for himself since then. Will Ospreay, however you pronounce it. Yeah. He was asked who he'd like to wrestle, and he mentioned someone who had mentioned that he would like to take him on, CM Punk.
Mm-hmm.
CM Punk was asked this, and he said, ask me at the end of the summer if he's still champion. End of the summer, AEW has a pay-per-view in Chicago.
At least every other,
well, previously.
Yeah, I would guess if they can travel, I'm guessing they'd still have a Chicago, not a different destination.
Right. I mean, their faces are on the building.
Yeah. Yeah, that would be something. That would get the whole wrestling world talking. When it comes to Punk, I'll see it when I believe it. That's where I stand anymore.
Yeah, because just last week you said, well, pro wrestling industry doesn't need Punk anymore.
He knows how to stir the pot. If the money's right, the guy's going to come back for a one-off or maybe a short story, but we'll see. I would love to see it. I'd love to see Ospreay against Omega. I mean, Omega, if he's going to be the belt collector, I thought it'd be Omega versus Ibushi, but Ospreay took the title off him. And Ospreay is one of the most talented guys in the world. I'd love to see that. So that might make some sense. Another guy, I'm not saying he joined the Elite, but Daniel Bryan's contract runs up in September.
Yeah.
And he said he's starting to think what he wants to do next, if he even wants to wrestle anymore, because he said he felt kind of out of sorts at WrestleMania.
But again, I don't think that was a match to have him in my opinion.
It wasn't. They didn't know what else to do with him.
Yeah, they wanted to have him have at least one more Mania moment because they know his contract's ending, and he's already mentioned he's probably not going to re-sign it.
And I don't think Vince liked the way Edge had been looking lately. So,
no, Edge.
We'll see. If he wants to wrestle, I could see him coming somewhere where, you only wrestle once a week and you're not on the road a ton and you have creative freedom.
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah. Or even, not even every week.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing that says you have to be here every Wednesday.
No.
That's why Brody signed before he passed, because he wasn't required to be there every week if he didn't want to be.
Yep.
Now,
a lot of creative freedom.
But yeah.
A lot of creative freedom, but like we mentioned earlier, there's just so many options. You got ROH, you got Impact. Even though I spoke my mind about Impact and AEW earlier, I don't. Now MLW with Vice. I mean, Vice does a great job with Dark Side of the Ring. That's a pretty big deal, I think. In Vice, it was reported New Japan turned them down last year for a TV contract.
Really?
And now New Japan's got that Roku deal, but I don't know if they were trying to get bigger and it didn't happen because of the pandemic or what. But
best of luck to MLW. They've got a great channel behind them, or great network behind them. Best of luck.
They got some good talent. They got some fun talent there. I haven't watched a ton of their stuff, but now that it's going to be on Vice, I might have to check it out.
Yeah.
I don't know what
have
night
Vice.
it might run on Wednesdays.
Mm.
I don't know though.
Mm.
That's just I'm speculating. That would make sense.
Mm.
That would make
Yeah.
sense if it does.
Yeah. So I saw something this week, and I want to get your input on it before we get off of here.
Okay.
There was somebody who said, AEW and Tony Khan has been talking about this 1 hour show.
Mm-hmm.
Are they going to make Dynamite 3 hours?
I don't see it.
Okay.
I would hate it if they do.
I don't want to see that either, but somebody said, let it keep building, get that 3 hours, take it to Monday night. And I went, oh God, please don't.
I would be shocked if that happens. I mean, I think we're going to see the ratings get close to Monday Night Raw ratings soon. Raw is just dumpster. It's too bad because that's still, you ask a stranger on the street who might not even watch pro wrestling, they've heard of Monday Night Raw.
Mm-hmm.
They might not have heard of SmackDown, but they've heard of Raw, and it's just trash anymore. It's the worst of the worst. It's awful. At least SmackDown's bearable on Fox, but Raw's is trash. But I think making Dynamite 3 hours would be a huge mistake. I mean, Raw, that's one reason it's unwatchable. It's 3 hours, and then they have to put crap on there just to fill out the time slot.
And you've got pay-per-views that are just as long as Raw. So
I will say that's one thing since the pandemic started, the WWE's got better at shortening their pay-per-views.
Yes.
And I know that's one criticism AEW gets sometimes, but I'm like, guys, we only have 4 of these a year.
Yeah.
And we're paying $50. Unlike, $4.99 or $9.99, whatever. Don't even get me started about Peacock. Whatever Peacock charge, because I think they've ruined the network right now. So.
Right. And I mean, okay, so let's take it back to the WWE network before Peacock.
Yeah.
It was $10 a month, so you're paying $120 a year for that.
Absolutely spoiled. Absolutely spoiled.
And then and so you got 12 pay-per-views, 12-ish for $120. It's only $200.
Yeah.
For AEW. So you're only spending $80 more.
Yeah.
I mean,
but you only get 4 of them.
Yeah.
That's what they say, but it's because the network really, they should have charged them more to begin with than they did. It made everybody spoiled, and everybody wants that now. But I think that's the reason why AEW, I've seen speculation why they're filming so much content, so many matches on Dark, and even Elevation and all this, is because they want to build up a library so they can have their own streaming service or channel, or have somebody inquire like a HBO or something for that streaming library in the future.
Right.
So smart planning.
Yeah. And, they do well at partnering, with State Farm, with Godzilla versus Kong. I wouldn't be surprised with Miro buying the private screening to Mortal Kombat. Something comes up in the next month or two that'll be sponsored by Mortal Kombat.
Yeah, even today there was a tweet that had MJF as a Mortal Kombat character, and then he ripped it saying, that guy's not ripped enough to be me, and the guy was jacked and swole. It was pretty funny. Then Ethan Page said, man, I'm so jealous of you. You don't even like Mortal Kombat, and you're getting this stuff made for you. And I was like, that's pretty good. So
yeah,
you're
we'll
right.
See what happens.
Yep. Any closing thoughts before you wrap it up for us?
Looking forward to Blood and Guts. I'm looking forward to see the build next week.
I want to know the rules. Is it going to be a typical war game style rules, or is there going to be some different rules? I want to know.
Yeah, that's what I want to know. I mean, I'm interested to see. I think next week we have to get the clarity for sure as to whether or not this is going to be the only thing that takes place on the 5th.
That's going to close the show next week, right? The parlay?
It's got to.
I think so too.
It's either going to open or close, and I got a feeling it'd close over open.
Yep. So, all right, Paul, wrap us up.
All right. That's going to do it for us. For Tanner Lee, I'm Paul Zartman. Join us again next week as we kick out yet another podcast.